yo, just shut the fuck up and do the work. Stop overcomplicating it. Just fucking shut up and do the work. Just never stop your core. Like, add enhancements. Like, dude, do ringless voicemails, do the RVMs, do the text blasts, do the email marketing, do the wholesaler campaigns, post on Facebook, do all this other shit, but never stop the core.
Welcome to the Zero to Wonder podcast. I'm Travis Dillard, and with me is Mitchell England. And I'm really excited about our guest today, Kevin Mills. For all of you that are just joining the podcast or haven't heard of us, we're all about scaling and cash flow real estate, buy and hold real estate. We look at everything through the lens of time. How can we get time freedom through real estate that meets our goals? Like, not buy real estate to get rich, but how do we buy real estate that generates true passive income, replaces our day job income, and gets us to what we call R1 or retirement number one. We call it retirement number one because after you sort of get all 40, 50, 60 hours a week back, you know, the world's your oyster. You keep investing, you keep growing your empire. Do you go play, go beat Mitch's ass in pickleball somewhere? Whatever you do. Like, so this is all about scaling cash flow real estate. We've got a badass on the podcast today. His name's Kevin Mills. We were just talking before we jumped on. He's like, yeah, man, my bio is pretty outdated. I got the email to talk about my bio and I just deleted it. And I was like, that's so funny because that's
you sound like us, man. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, we're a lifestyle guy. I don't want to send a long email about all the bullshit and what I'm doing. So I can tell you like high level, like Kevin's, he's got this little title called the number one like realtor in the world. With Century 21, which is a small little real estate brokerage. I'm joking. It's huge. So Kevin's built like this massive business. He's an entrepreneurial mind, but he also is a real estate investor. And the bio that was 10 years old said he invests in mobile home parks, apartment buildings, self-storage, et cetera. That might not be true anymore. Maybe he invests in soybeans now. I don't know. We're going to find out because that's why we asked. So Kevin, man, welcome to the call. Like we told you, this is pretty informal. We'll ask you some intelligent questions and maybe some not so intelligent questions in Mitch's case. But we're raw. People here want to know like how you did it. So yeah, we always how you doing, man? Welcome. Where you calling in from right now?
I'm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina right now. I'm flying out to Chicago, which is one of my favorite cities tomorrow. So I'm stoked about that. But I'm in Myrtle Beach. It's where I live full time. So I'm here most of the year when I'm not out traveling with the family and friends, just going around the world doing some cool shit.
I love Myrtle Beach, man. That's a beautiful place to live.
Yeah, man. It gets a strange reputation because you got Charleston south of it, which is really, really nice, and then you got Wilmington that's north of it, which is a really, really cool city as well. So they say that we're like the stepsister to two really cool cities. So I have to get that from all my Charleston friends. But yeah, man, I really love where I live. We have some really good pickleball courts here. So I heard you talking a little bit of shit earlier.
Are you a pickleball guy?
Dude, I am.
Oh God, here we go.
It is so good.
Oh,
dude, yes. I think Kevin and I might be the same person. We have the two girls, same age. Pickleball is like the best. I was just playing this last weekend. I'm like just addicted to it. Like
there's nothing better than just smacking a ball at like a 60-year-old lady's face.
That's right. That's right.
Nailing her as hard. There's no better feeling.
Yeah, I know my wife. Like after the game, I'm like talking shit to some 65-year-old or whatever. My wife's like, like she's like a grandma, right? I'm like, I'm sorry.
Like I just schooled you.
That's right. That's right. That's what I'm talking about. And she's like walking off the court with a walker, basically.
Well, now I know why Mitch likes pickleball so much because it fuels.
Hey, it's great for the ego, man. It's great for the ego. Here's the problem though, is like half the time, 60. Well, I'll just tell you, the first time I played, it was like an 80-year-old guy, and he like walked out super tiny little shuffle steps, like a President Biden goes to the podium, and he could barely walk out there, and he absolutely kicked my ass. And then he's just like, good game, buddy. And could barely walk. And I'm like, all right, I got to figure this game out. So anyway, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
All right. Well, pickleball. So you hit R1, you can go play pickleball with Kevin and Mitch. So, hey, Kevin, we usually like to start this story like you're a badass. You're an incredibly successful salesperson, team builder, real estate investor. But we like to go back before you were a badass, and we like to go back to little Kevin. What was Kevin doing? Where are you from? What got you interested in the brain damage of entrepreneurship that we're all in, that we love, and investing? So tell us your story, man.
Yeah, man, for sure. I'll speed it up to give the fast version, but I'm happy to go deep in any area because I'll definitely glaze over some. But I was born in Asheville, North Carolina. My dad worked as a cashier at a gas station. That's what he did my entire life. And my mom was a school teacher. Maybe about 10 or 11 years old, I dated the richest girl in town. Me and her dad owned all like the car dealerships, like the Nissan, the Hondas, and all of this. And that was probably the first like time in my life I realized that we didn't have money. And I really liked the freedom and opportunities that they have. And really her parents even looked down on my family. And I had to hear it from her all the time of like, yeah, my family just doesn't like the fact that I'm dating you because of like who your family is and what they have. And dude, I'm like,
that happens still?
Yeah. That's like 11, 12 years old, maybe 13. I dated this girl till I graduated through 18. So that really shaped me to the point of like, I realized what my dad did was less than what my mom did. People actually respected my mom being a teacher. They didn't respect what my dad did. So I used to lie. And I used to say my dad owned the gas station, right? So for a long time, I used to just lie and tell people my dad owns gas stations and my mom's a teacher. And I realized I wasn't put in that same bucket that I was put in when everybody knew my mom or my dad was a cashier at a gas station, which was just like a sales associate. And so I really had the desire to be more than because I felt less than. And I've had to do a lot of work as an adult, just understanding that there's no such thing as more than, which means there's no such thing as less than. It's just being who you are. But as a child, I wanted to be more than. So I learned that little tool called lying, which made me feel more than. And that kind of ran away with like my whole middle school and high school career, just lying about who I was and never like being the authentic version of myself. And so then I went to college. And I continued up that lie of my dad owns gas stations and my mom was a teacher and whatever kind of story that kind of built around, right? And at that time, man, I met my wife in college, and my wife came back to like home with me, and we got serious, and she really like broke it down to me of like, hey, like, why are you lying to people? Like, why did you lie to me and say that your dad owned the gas station? Like, it even got to the point, man, as crazy as it sounds, my dad used to tell my friends he owned a gas station because he knew that I was so disappointed in it and that I lied about it so much that he didn't want to be an embarrassment to me, which is super deep, right? Because I just had this whole, like, I wanted to be in such a high regard. I didn't care what anybody thought, which is dangerous, right? You get into some tricky territory there. So fast forward for that desire to be rich and just that persona that I really wanted, and kind of who I knew I needed to be. But fast forward my junior year, my wife gets pregnant in college. I'm on the rugby team there, man. I am playing the field. I am having fun. We are just barely dating. She gets pregnant. She says, I'm keeping the baby. And I was like, okay, well, I have to get serious about graduating. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was just having fun in college. So she said, well, you got to move to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, because that's where my family is. So I had no choice. Never been to Myrtle Beach. Didn't know anything about it. We were dating for like 2 months. I probably met her mom once before she had the news that we were having a baby. And then in a course of like a year, I'm graduated, moved into their house in Myrtle Beach, broke as a joke, and I have a daughter on the way. And that one feeling of like being disappointed in my dad is what really drove me to want to be extremely successful. So I didn't want my child to have the same disappointment in me that I did when I was a kid with my dad. So going really fast, I was looking for jobs, couldn't find a job, found something selling cars. So I went, interviewed, I set the store record the first 2 months selling cars, but I made like $5,000. It was nothing. So I said, I want to get into an industry where I have to sell myself instead of selling cars, because people would choose different cars because they like different cars, even though they love me. So did some research, joined Century 21. The guy I joined became an incredible mentor of mine. We're now partners in a bunch of different ventures. And he had the #1 Century 21 office, at least in the region, top 3 in the world, top 5 in the world. Greg Harrelson's his name. He was an incredible sales producer. And he said, yeah, dude, I mean, if you're going to do this, you need to eat some rocks. And there's a way we do it. We make these phone calls, we cold call, we build this database, we talk to these people, we get these listings. You really control your time, but you got to put in the hours and you got to get on the phones and you got to make a ton of contacts. So that's how it all started, man. I mean, I made 100 contacts a day every day for the first 3 years. Meaning that I had to talk to 100 people a day who owned a property in Myrtle Beach and the surrounding market, added those people to a database, followed up with them, and just continue building that database up and scaling up my inventory. I never worked buyers, only worked the listing side. Still only work the listing side because I'm still just a team leader now on the team. But how I got into real estate investing is one day in the office, one of the old guys who was so pissed off on a short sale, nobody would buy the deal, just like lost it on the room and was like, I can't believe none of you guys have the balls to buy this deal. Like, it's an incredible deal. I have it at this price. Like, it's an incredible rental. I was like, man, I'm in. Like, what do you need from me? It's probably a year in my career. I was like, if you put down this amount of money, I already got the deal done with the bank. You're stepping in with all this equity. You can just rent it out. And he's like, shit, the people who are living there, they're getting short sold on, they'll even rent it back from you. I was like, man, this sounds too good to be true. Let's do it. And that was my first kind of taste into real estate investing.
This is incredible. And I just want to stop you because I want to go back. Like your story is incredible. Like, you have this kid, it's baby on the way. You get out of college, you move to South Carolina. You've never been there before. You don't even know the family. You're like, you got to make this marriage work. Anyway, I'm just like, I love to like listen and get into the emotions, because that's got to be, first of all, insanely scary. You're broke. You don't have any money. You don't have any. The other thing too is you don't have you don't necessarily have the inheritance from your parents on how to go get a lot of resources either. So like that you had to feel like so lost. Like, maybe just talk about for a second, like where was your head at this time? Like, how nervous were you? Did you have, I don't know, like how, like this is the moment in time that I think is amazing, because where you are today is so different than where you were. And a lot of people can't get past that. So like, what is it with you? Why are you different to where you're like, I'm going to go figure it out. I'm going to go sell. I'm going to go, like, what is that?
Yeah, I think my mindset was driven out of fear of being the father to my child that my dad was to me. Now, my dad was a great dad, but I would say that it just really messed me up as a kid over the fact that I felt like I was looked down upon for who my father was. It made me not proud of my father because of how other people perceived him, which is some deep, deep shit that me and him had to work through as I've continued to get older. But so I still had that feeling of my child needs to be proud of me. How do I make sure my kid's very proud of me? I guess I have to make a lot of money. How do I make a lot of money? And whenever I got around to sales, commission, go out there, you kind of eat what you kill. My mindset on that was, I'll do whatever it takes for my kid not to feel the way that I felt. And for the first 7 to 8 years, like, that was such a relentless drive, exhausting drive, right? Because you're out of scarcity. So it's always like scared of doing without or scared of being less than. So you're always in this scarcity mindset. But that button pushed me harder than anything else could.
You know, if I could chime in here, it's funny because like your story is actually pretty similar to Mitch. You know, like he's pretty similar to like getting into real estate. Oh, I guess I'm in sales now. I'm gonna cold call. And we always talk about, part of the mindset we talk about in the tribe is like, everybody needs to have their why. Like what drives you when you're getting, your face kicked in every single day. And my why was somewhat similar. I was from the have-nots and want to be part of the haves. Of course, I didn't date a girl that their family looked down upon me. It sounds like Romeo and Juliet or something. But still, like, so, but you got on the phone and you cold called, and that's tough. Like, that's terrifying. And so was it just, did you put like a Post-it of your kid up on the wall when you're making these cold calls? Like, I'm doing this for them.
Dude, it's going to sound absolutely funny, or it's going to be hilarious. My dad was a Vietnam veteran, right? So like, you can imagine the kind of guy he was, right? Just like kind of look down upon others, like kind of loudmouth, like no holds bar. And even like growing up in sports, like I had football coaches that would like spit in your face, right? And like do like random stuff, like really like tough mentors and tough coaches. And somehow, thank God, I kind of found the same thing in my real estate coach. Like the guy who owns the company, Greg, who's a partner and mentor and has been a really close friend of mine for a long time. Like, dude, he is like this is not like any other real estate brokerage you could ever be at. And I know this being at the point and the level I've been at now and us acquiring what we've acquired. Like Greg would be like, listen, motherfucker, you want your fucking kids to eat? You better get on the fucking phone today then. Stop fucking whining. Stop making fucking excuses. Jeez. Turn in your numbers every fucking day to me or get the fuck out. He'd lock the door at 8:01 if you weren't there by 8 o'clock prospecting. If you started one conversation that was off prospecting between 8 and 11, he'd throw your ass out of the room. Like it was a boot camp ran, and that worked well with me based on what I wanted to achieve. And I'm also very coachable. So I've been in team coaches, like team sports my entire life. I've always had a coach in some regards, not like a life coach, but like a sports coach. So like I was always told to be coachable. So from a kid who wanted to make it, that didn't want to do without, and now I'm working for a guy who makes millions of dollars and is regarded as whatever he's regarded. I mean, in real estate, it's kind of funny. You can look back on somebody's sales and calculate how much money they make, right? So you can do that. So I remember doing that to him, and it was like, damn, this dude made like $2.5 million last year. But I better listen to what he says. And dude, he still has that same exact language with me today. Like same today. He goes, you know what your fucking problem is? Your fucking problem is you have no fucking accountability with the people who work for you. You know, they work for you. Like next time I walk in that office and the door is shut, I'm kicking it the fuck down because they fucking work for me. They do what we say. And it's an intense kind of energy, but it's one that is extremely effective. And I actually know at the end of the day, he's doing it out of love and he's doing it out of like achieving that vision. So I'm extremely lucky that I didn't have somebody in my life who's like, hey man, you know, there's a lot of different ways that you can earn business. Like there's you could do this and you could do that. He was like, listen, the only fucking duplicatable way to make it in this industry and replicatable way where you can drive your business is by getting on the phones and making contacts and adding into a database and following up, and don't do one fucking servicing activity. You only focus on generating. I don't give a fuck if all these listings fall through. I mean, it's that kind of energy in a loving way that was like, all right, dude, I got you. Like, yeah, I'm good. And even now it brings a smile to my face. The accuracy of how I'm saying this would blow your mind. Like this is so accurate, just in the way that he talks to us. So there was no other way to do it. That was the only way I knew how to make phone calls or build real estate or do whatever. So my real estate sales as an agent went from 40 something deals the first year. I think it was like 43, and then 87, then 183. And then I had 5 years where I banged out over 300 deals year after year as a solo agent with one assistant, because that was my mentality. Is you go in, you make the phone calls, you only focus on generating, you don't focus anything on the servicing. Every day you get your generating in, you make your contacts, you list the properties, and you move on. And it was such a robotic way of thinking that it made it very easy for me to transition that into investing or owning businesses or whatever it might be. And the only time I get in trouble, dude, is when I try to fancy it up. Like, hey man, why don't we try this? Like, why don't we do this? Like, let's experiment with this. What if we hired them like this? Like, what if we're nicer to our agents and tell them like, no, they could do open houses, you know, or whatever it might be with any of our employees. But I can tell you, man, we have the number one office in the country of any brand for per office productivity per agent. Our average agent does over 34 deals. And we have an insurance company now. And our insurance company, I don't know the metrics yet, but we're going to be very, very high up per insurance productivity as well, because we're running the exact same outfit, but with insurance. And when you have a bunch of grinders that are making contacts and tracking their numbers and KPIs and being held accountable to them and role playing every morning at 7 a.m. and 7:30 and just becoming very good salespeople, you can accomplish some incredible shit.
Well, sales is such an amazing skill. I mean, I always say this, like that is the great equalizer in this world. You can come from nothing. And I do say, like, people think you're born a salesperson. I think it's a skill you need to learn. And it doesn't matter if you are in a sort of a traditional sales role, or if you're raising capital, or if you're looking for deals, trying to find off-market deals to invest in, or managing a team of salespeople. Like you have to understand sales. You have to relate with people, and so that's really, I think a sales skill can transcend across any sort of success story.
100%.
Well, you know, I told the story. You know, I started at Keller Williams selling real estate, and I walked in with a computer and a cell phone, and I didn't know anybody in town. I knew nothing. I knew nothing about selling real estate. Just was totally lost and scared, because I thought, well, I was so naive. I thought if I get my real estate license, like, well, then I'll sell real estate. I didn't realize like there's this whole business building and nurture, prospecting sort of like world that exists that I had to dive into. And so anyway, I'll never forget, like, this guy walked by, and he wasn't like probably as extreme as like your mentor was, but he basically said, look, you're going to fail, man. You're going to fail like everyone else fails. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because you're sitting here tweaking your logo, and you're sitting here going through your emails, and you're sitting here, you're not on the phone. And I'm like, on the phone with who? Like, I don't get it. And so anyway, he just like I went to a couple of his courses. I didn't end up joining his team. I stayed an independent agent, but like I realized that it was all about lead generation. And if I could do that, then I was going to eat. And so anyway, I identify with your story because it's all about lead gen, you know?
Well, there's also this undercurrent happening too, which I think we've mentioned this a couple times on this podcast. It's funny, like for a long time, there's like, okay, people, this is how you're successful. And we do this. We still do this, but we've achieved some success, but it's like, get up and then do your meditation and then your visualizations and your affirmations and then do your yoga and light the incense. And now it's 10 o'clock. And it's like, you got the guys like Hermosi and you and, Cody Sanchez are like, no, get up and get your ass to work. Like, what's the one thing you can do? Drive revenue. Revenue solves a lot of issues, right? And even how does this translate over to real estate investing? People that are trying to like scale a real estate portfolio. I could get up and tweak my SOPs, and we talk about that. I can tweak my logo and my website. I can sit around and find every excuse not to just get out there and start generating contacts with brokers and wholesalers and off-market sellers and just getting your ass to work and grinding it out. And like, if you go talk to most successful people, like, that's how they started. They started just getting their teeth kicked in and grinding it out. Unless, like I said, you're Zuckerberg and you created an app in college and became a billionaire. And that was easy. But yeah. I love that you said that. And I guess my question, I want to continue on with your story, but like, what's some advice you can give to our listeners are trying to get started? And you're like, and they're trying to find deals and they're trying to find good deals. Obviously, you got to get educated. You got to know how to underwrite deals. But like, how could you take what you've learned to like go get deals? Maybe not sales, but deals.
Yeah. So if I flip the script, because that's where I was to where I am today, is more on the investing end. That's one thing that's become my biggest passion is all my investing. So you guys might be in the mobile home park space. I think Gabe was saying.
Oh yeah, we love it. We love it.
I am as well. So let me tell you that I have 11 mobile home parks. Just got the 12th one under contract, which will be my biggest one yesterday. So I'm stoked about getting that one done.
Nice.
I went through the self-storage facilities. I went through the multifamily. We did a single family portfolio. We had sober living houses. I went through basically every single asset class thinking that I was going to find something. I was going to find some sort of like remarkable asset class that I'm going to throw all my money into, that I was going to be so devoted in. And that was going to be kind of the way that I grew my wealth. And the truth was, man, I was just moving from one shiny object to the other. So I'm glad that I started where I did with single family investing and moved into multifamily. But self-storage was one that just seemed like a shiny object. So I got into that and we acquired some really big facilities. And thank God we got out of them when we did, because that's when kind of all the REITs started entering our market and really crushing a lot of our mom and pop. So we still have two that are doing pretty decent, but and that's when we transitioned into the parks. But if I was to start all over again, and even my oldest daughter now, we have a lot of conversations regarding real estate investing, is like, what asset class do you feel like most resonates with you and why? And then if you can identify that, and then you could find somebody on the internet or out there on a blog post that's heavy in that asset class, of trying to pick their brain of, hey, I'm really thinking about getting into this asset class, and here's the reasons behind why I'm going to do it, and here's my thought process on it. What are your thoughts on that? And I'd love to hear what their kind of thoughts, because there's no magic pill. Like, I think you just got to know who you are. Like, I'm not the guy who's going to fix and flip properties. I'm not the one who wants the slow term appreciation on the single family homes. I'm not the one that wants to cash flow $100 a month on a single family and leverage to the hilt. That's just not who I am. I'm the one that wants a little bit more safety, a little bit more security. I want to be able to negotiate terms on the loan, so I want to put more money down, but I'm also making a substantial amount of income on the side so I can afford to do that. So as soon as I identified the asset class, then it's go get the data. Okay, well, where do I get the data from? There's a million places to get data from. You can get it from Kohl's Realty Resource. You can get it from Ben Verified. You can get it from White Pages. A friend of mine has a website that I use all the time called Exact Dial. This is my favorite for getting data, not because he's a friend of mine, because I think it's the best. And so you find the data on there, you pay a minimal fee, and then you start building relationships with these people. You do it by being very authentic on who you are and what you're hoping to achieve, and you build some relationships. And it's just like going to the gym. Like, you're not going to see results after 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, but in 6 months, you're going to build up your skills, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you're going to build some relationships that materialize into deals. So for me, I think as long as you can do that on the side where you still have steady income coming in, I think it's just that repetitious boredom. And so a lot of people would say, especially Keller Williams guys who know me, like, Kevin's really good at mastering the mundane. He can do the boring shit over and over and over and over again. because I'm not focused. I know if I do this result, the outcome will be, I can track the outcome. So I'm not looking for outcomes today, not even in my real estate business. Like I don't have to get a listing a day. I don't have to get a deal today. I don't have to talk to an investor today that wants to list or that wants to sell their property. But if I continue this process over and over again, I can guarantee you in 30 days from now, I'll find somebody. So I've just continued that process on the investing side of identifying asset classes and going directly to the operators. But now I'm scaling to an industry. Now I'm looking in I would say I'm still looking at $5-6 million deals, but looking $10 million plus, it's a little bit harder because you don't see as many mom and pops there. So now it's the same relationship with the brokers. Like, let me tell you authentically who I am and what I'm looking to achieve and what you can expect out of me if you were to bring me something. And then I'm starting the same conversations, building the same Rolodex, building the same database. I'm texting these guys once a week, any cool articles I found. My follow-up would blow your fucking mind. And I mean it just like that. My follow-up is so fucking concise, meaning that like I'll have in my mind like, okay, I'm going to follow up with you 4 times this month. 1, I'm going to bring you value based on the industry, something regarding the mobile home park industry if you're a broker. The second is going to be some information on me and possibly what I'm found and what I'm looking for. The third is going to be like a random article regarding a city that I'm really targeting to see if they might know anybody. And the fourth might be hey man, I saw your stuff on Facebook. Congratulations on the dog. Like my follow-up is that concise that if you look in my database, it's like, check in, say something about Facebook. Check in, brings up something about the market. Check in, say that you need a deal and see what they have working right now. Check in, see who they might know that might be sourcing deals in that area. So I have that follow-up so built in that now I'm just executing on what I said I was going to do.
So I like that you said you're not necessarily worried about the output because you know the output will come. You're maniacal about the inputs.
For sure.
Like the activities.
Yeah, the process.
Yeah. And I remember like, cause I grew a tech company and had sales teams and I just like, yeah, it's got to be organized, but activity generates results. If you know you're doing the right things day in and day out, if you set metrics for yourself, I need to reach out to this many brokers. I need to make this many contacts, this many follow-ups. It's the same thing. Eventually, like you said, you're going to wake up 30, 60, 90 days. And you're going to have 5 deals, one of which is going to meet your investing criteria. And you're going to close. And also like reminding yourself, like doing the mundane and grinding it out. Yeah, some people might say it sucks. And we always say this though, you could achieve amazing cash flow, passive income results on one property that could change your entire life. So it's like, if you're a long-term hold person like we are, like, yeah, you grind out. It's unfortunate because you're bored or but you keep going because you know it's life-changing. In the end, the output is life-changing. So keep reminding yourself of that.
Yeah. But it's really like, even the words we're using, like people are just like, oh man, it's so hard. It's like, no, dude, that fucking dude that I'm looking at right now on that roof out there in 104-degree weather with a fucking bag on his head or a t-shirt on his head to keep the sweat off of him, who's pounding these nails for the next 7 hours, that shit's hard. I'm sitting in an air-conditioned room, having fun talking to somebody, building a relationship, and then following up, which is playing a game to me, a follow-up game of who can follow up the best, and then having very good conversations, delivering value while strategically asking questions that move the conversation forward so I'm the person they think about when they choose to do something. So my story is different than the guy who's like, oh man, it's so fucking hard. So hard? Are you kidding, dude?
You know what's hard? When I was at the airport with my kids the other day, my son, and there was a guy, and it was in Costa Rica. He was literally scrubbing the little urinal soap things, right? Scrubbing. I go, Cade, that's hard, right? Yeah. That's tough. So yeah, I love that you said that because that, you know, we get to sit in air conditioned rooms and generate contacts, and we know the output is life-changing.
Yeah. And again, man, like I challenge it with my kids all the time of just like, how do I make sure that my kids are gritty? And for me, it's sports. Like sports is what makes my kids gritty. Like my youngest is an amateur surfer, and she's on a surf fest right now, or a surf competition. And I'm not able to go with her every weekend because she's going around the country surfing. She's 8 years old. And she's like, oh man, I wish you could be here. I'm like, yeah, that's what's going to make you gritty. It's just like a challenge that you have in your life that you have overcome. Oh man, I wish you were here to give me like the daps and everything beforehand. Yeah, I do too. This is going to make you grittier because you're going to learn how to do it without me. Oh man, the judge said that I didn't do this. Well, good. Get them on the next. Be so fucking good next time that there's no question that you won the fucking competition. Like, and this is the way I talk to my kids because they need to have that grit. Because I've seen these kids that have grit enter the workforce, whatever they do, and they're animals. Because like, dude, nothing's hard to them because their emotional intelligence is so high because they've already had to navigate it. They've navigated somebody looking down on them or getting a result that they didn't want, or life not being fair, or coming over challenges, or having to be at a certain spot at a certain time and preparing a certain way and warming up and then waiting till they call your number to participate and then it being over and somebody wins and somebody loses. They've already gone through all that. So when they enter the workforce, it's like, okay, here we go again. Same shit, different rules, different game, but overall it's the same concepts. So whenever I have somebody who comes in the office and they're like, oh man, like, this is really hard. This is really draining. It's like, yeah, what kind of sports did you play growing up? And every fucking time, dude, they never played sports. And I'm sure there's another way to get to it than sports. But in my mind, that's where I see my grit came from, is like when my brother's out there on whatever field we're playing and we're all going through the same shit. And it's like, all right, I'm doing it for the guy next to me. I'm doing it for the team. I'm doing it for the greater good. Like I can give it more. I can give it more effort. I'm going to give it my all. And that's kind of the mentality I try to come back to, just in regards to life in general, is like, if we keep on doing the hard shit that we know leads to results, we're going to get results. Or we could just make fucking excuses and be nobodies.
Well, you're motivating me on two levels. I mean, on multiple levels, but like the kids thing I think is amazing. And I think that we also have a generation of kids entering the workforce to where like they're complete shitheads. There's no motivation. There's no grit. They've never been through anything hard. Their parents have handed everything to them. So it's like, I think for the kids who do have grit, who do have consistency, who know how to fight, they're going to take over the world. First of all, they're going to be the ones running the entire world in a couple years. Yeah. Savages. The other thing too, though, is I noticed about you, and I noticed this about a lot of entrepreneurs at like the level that you're at, which isn't that many people, but like the consistency over time. Like I think one of the rarest attributes in a human being is like consistent effort in a specific direction over time. Like not just for a month and burn out, or not just like, hey, I'm gonna lose weight and get in shape, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you're not going to the gym in 15 days. Like, do you feel like that plays a part? Because when I listen to you, I'm like, I feel like you're a guy who's going to show up, do the hard shit every single day for years at a time. And that is the most rare, like you don't find humans like that. Do you feel like that resonates with you?
Yeah, man, consistency compounds. And I'm lucky to have the mentor, right? If it wasn't for the mentor, I wouldn't have gotten it. Like I'll be transparent. Like maybe I would have figured out something over time, but I wouldn't have been at the level I'm at now. It's every day. And this is just the truth. If you ask anybody, or even in our marketplace, every day at 7:00, I'm at the office. Every day at 7:55, I'm in a bullpen room. Every day at 8:00, I start generating in some form or fashion, whether it be for agents now, whether it be for insurance side, whether it be on deals, whether it be for lists, whatever it might be. I'm generating every single day, 8 to 11. And I've realized if I generate, I don't have to tolerate. I don't have to tolerate any bullshit. So I just generate every single day, and I play it as a game. And some days, man, it's not fun playing the game. But at the end of the day, man, I just look back on it and think, man, all I got to do is get on the phones this morning and make 30-ish contacts, because that's where I'm at now. Talk to 30-ish people, and my life will move in crazy directions. And it's the same thing regarding networking with friends or being in networking groups or whatever it might be. If I just maintain those relationships and keep those relationships, it's incredible where my life can go. So I just view it as, man, like if I think about all the time that I waste, like watching a TV show or a movie or whatever it might be at the end of the day, like none of that's rewarding. But if I think about all the energy and output that I put into growing my business, like I am so rewarded by that. And I'm so thankful that I put in that time, energy, and kind of hard work to start it, because it just made me gritty. But yeah, I agree with you. There's not too many people that do it. Even on the real estate side, everybody's looking for the shiny objects. They all want to be the guy at the bar who says, yeah, like I hardly work and I close a $10 million deal. It's like, yeah, motherfucker, you had to pay a 60% referral fee on that shit. And that's probably the only fucking deal you're going to do this year. Like, I mean, it's that kind of shit that it's like, I'm not in those circles. I'm in the ones where it's like, we're like the bad news bears, man. We're the misfits. And I enjoy the hell out of it, man. It's fun for me.
I don't want to gloss over something you said, Kevin. And I want everybody to write this down. Generation, but I generate so I don't have to tolerate. I think that's the new theme of Zero Runner. Like, get out there, work hard, generate, get 8 to 11, generate, make contacts, network, wholesalers, brokers, off-market sellers, make maniacal, gamify it, do whatever you can to get through those 2 hours and do it authentically. So you don't have to tolerate. You don't have to tolerate a W-2 job down there. You don't have to tolerate answering to somebody else. You can set life on your own terms. I love that.
There's another one that I really like. Mike Meadler, who's a Century 21 CEO. He's a good friend of mine. We're doing an Ironman in September together, a half Ironman in Michigan. And we got on stage when we got number 1 2 years ago, Century 21. He goes, he's gotten to know me pretty well. He comes down to the office. He understands what we have going on at the organization. He realizes he won't be able to get like most agents to do what we do. So it's not like a vast implement, but he loves being part of the boys club that we kind of have. And he was like, you know what makes Kevin extraordinary? His commitment to the ordinary. He is so committed to the ordinary things that it makes him so extraordinary. And I have a sticky note that says that like in my bullpen station, just because it's so damn true, man. Like you know what's exceptional about Kevin? Fucking nothing. Not one damn thing. I am not smart, man. I am not my IQ is not that high. My emotional intelligence is pretty high. But like the one thing that I would say is pretty extraordinary if you ask other people is that I'll show up and do what I said I was committed to doing every single day. And I think it all stemmed out of I didn't want my child to be embarrassed by me. And now it's stemmed into I want to make sure that I can create to the highest of my potential. And I do that by being in a room and making contacts, and that's fun for me. And I'm able to do some extraordinary things that way. So,
but you hold yourself incredibly accountable. You're going to hold everybody else accountable, and you lead by example. So, I don't want to let you down. Like just being on this call, like shit, I don't want to let Kevin down.
Well, I'm over here like taking notes because I'm going like selfishly, I get so much out of these calls because I'm like, holy crap, like it's such a your mindset's so strong. I just admire that. I think and I think it's rare. And I think people are like, people, whether it's real estate investing or real estate sales or whatever it is, they're always looking for like that next like big answer, like the secret, like, oh, what's the next software? What's the next strategy to call or ringless voicemail or whatever that is? Like, they're always just looking for that next answer that's going to like unlock all this value and wealth and all these things. And I feel like this interview is a really, really great stark reminder. It's like, just show up and do the work and results will come. But people don't want to do the work. People want a shortcut.
No, especially today. We live in not to get all, when I was your age, but like we're all told that we're entitled to something and we don't have to work for it and we should have to work hard for it. And that, we look on social media and we should have that person's life and it should be easy and I deserve this and, I shouldn't have to do this. And I think this is, like Mitch said, this is a stark reminder for those of you that are wondering why you're not getting results in your life the way you want it, because you have to freaking show up and put the work in. And you got to grind it out day in and day out. Time block. I love set 2 to 3 hours aside and like, this is my generation time. And nothing is going to get in the way of this.
Yeah, I mean, I turned off social media. Like, I don't have social media. Like, I'm not involved in a lot of this stuff just because it was distracting me. Like, I was listening to like YouTube and podcasts, not saying anything wrong with podcasts, but I was listening to it so much trying to find like, what else is there out there and what else is somebody doing until I just had the realization of like, yo, just shut the fuck up and do the work. Like, stop overcomplicating it. Just fucking shut up and do the work. And even my mentor, and I think it's a great point, I think it comes back to of like, dude, just never stop your core. Like add enhancements. Like do ringless voicemails, do the RVMs, do the text blasts, like do the email marketing, do the wholesaler campaigns, post on Facebook, do all this other shit, but never stop the core.
But don't look at those like there's some salvation, there's some sort of like thing that's going to save you and then get away from that core. Like you said, like all that stuff can work and it's great, whatever. But like, yeah, you're not going to like, anyway, yeah, I love that. You got to stay with your core. This is a great reminder. And like, I feel like people are going to listen to this podcast and feel very like, I don't know. I got chills just listening to you. Cause I'm like, guys, we got to just get back to the basics. Get back to what sucks. Like again, it doesn't suck compared to that roofer on the roof, but like sometimes it sucks calling for hours and hours, or sometimes there's some shitty conversations and you feel that fight or flight and you're scared or whatever, but like that's what pays, right? I mean,
dude, grass is always greener, man. There is no easy answer to how you're doing it, but I think if you can gamify it and you can just be consistent at it, it's the best way to build a business, any business. Like the insurance companies, the real estate company, the investment side, what we're doing, everything. It all just comes down to context. Even my property managers, man. Like we have property management in-house for my investment portfolio now. And it's like for them, they just want to email and text everything. I'm like, no, make the contacts. Make the contact. You know what? Fucking track your contacts. And every Friday, turn in a list of how many contacts you made to 10 every single week. And now I look at that. It's like, you know what? If I have to measure your KPIs on contacts to judge or drive our results, I'll do it. Like, let's stop doing it the easy way.
I love that you said that because so many people do hide behind email or a voicemail, right? Like we call it email ping pong. Like, oh, I sent him an email, ball's in their court, and it's like, not pick up the phone, get after it. Hey, Kevin, so you have, the bio that I was looking at, maybe this isn't relevant anymore, but it says you're a founder in 5 companies. What are those?
Yeah. So it would be the real estate company would be one. The investment company would be another one that we did investment properties to build and hold. We did a building company where we built houses and we flipped them to sell. We did another building company where we built to hold, and then we had the insurance company on that end. So we had 5 that we built up on that side, and all the building companies aren't doing well right now, meaning that we're just not acquiring land positions. We had a bunch of big home builders come into our market and they've just taken over. So our spec homes, just the risk was a little bit too high. And I can tell you, man, just being first generation, I'm a little bit more cautious into my numbers on this side. I'm cautious into where I'm throwing my money and investing. Like, I know it sounds crazy, man, but like I love my treasury bill right now. It's at 5.5% return. And I don't think about it. I fucking love it. And I love the mobile home parks that we have right now that have incredible equity in them, and they're cash flowing like monsters right now. But for me, I always like, so there's a book called the Yellow Pad. That's a really good book by Secretary of Treasury. He dives into a lot of history though. So if you don't like history, don't read the book and just listen to me. Because the one point he got out of it that wasn't history related was every single decision that you make, or every single decision that can be made in your business, you need to write down the question and write out all probabilities if you were to go one direction and all probabilities if you went the other direction. And then write out the percentage of odds of that actually taking place on the yes and the no. And then once you're able to look at it objectively by if you chose this decision, what the odds are it would pan out. And if you took this decision, what the odds are in your head that this would pan out, you're able to make a more logical decision. And that's really how I run my businesses. Like I have some that are very hot and some that go a little bit colder, like this business or the building business, but we can turn that back up at any point in time if we feel like there's good opportunities in the market. But right now, just in a little bit harder of an economy, we're pushing the real estate team really hard to really keep stacking the profit up. And we're really on the hunt for more mobile home parks because they're our consistent asset class right now. I mean, those are the ones that are doing the absolute best for us. And I think at the beginning of the year, we bumped all of our residents $20 and it was something like $38,000 a month that it increased our portfolio. And I was like, that's a pretty fucking sweet switch. Like that's really nice in a down economy.
Not to mention the value you just created by improving the net operating income.
So I mean, on this side, I would say my focus right now is continuing to run the real estate team at a high level because that's the one thing that drives all the cash for me. So that's like my everyday 8 to 11. 11 to 12, I do a lot within the insurance company. 12 to 1, I meet with the property managers 3 days a week just to make sure that our properties are rolling well. And my afternoons are open to whatever I feel like doing. But more than likely, man, I'm making those investment outbound calls to either the brokers or the owners that we have relationships with. But I mean, we have property owners of mobile home parks now, but self-storage facilities, multifamilies over the years. I mean, we've been dripping on for 8 or 9 years that have been getting texts, voicemails, calls, emails every month for the last 8 years. So I'm still continuing to ride that database to see what opportunities are out there with them.
Is that your primary portfolio now, mobile home parks? Did you sell everything else?
It is. I'm getting out of the self-storage facilities. So right now it's mobile home parks. Yeah, and we have 3 industrial sites that are really large. So if it was like percentage of like net worth, then the industrial will probably be pretty close to the mobile home parks just because they're big industrial plays. But yeah, I have 11 parks right now. The average one has about 33 to 34 sites, and the biggest one has 90 sites, and the next biggest is around 50. So most of ours are 30 to 50, but we have 190.
Do you guys partner with people with capital, or is it just all your own?
It's all my own. And I have nothing against it or nothing against people. Like Pasha is Sfandieri. I'm sure you know Pasha.
We had him on the podcast.
Okay, sweet. Pasha is one of my best friends. Like we talk 3 days a week. And, he's raising money through Evoke and he's doing some really good stuff with that. And even him and I, we talk a lot about probabilities because now he just had 2 kids. And it's like, yeah, when you're making, like, he's very probable when I'm like, hey man, do you want to meet up tonight and like maybe go out and eat? And he's like, there's like a 48% chance I'd be in. Like he talks like that. Like it's crazy. He's a poker player. He's an ex-poker player. So he always talks in percentages, which is super interesting to me. But yeah, I would say I got into parks slightly after Pasha got into parks. He raises money, which is great, and I love what he's doing. I just kind of want to play with my own capital stack, man. I'm sure he has all the freedom that he could want in his mind, but my story is, like, in my mind, it's better for me just to have full control over my assets and not have anybody else involved other than me and the property managers that work for me. And that's just my story. So he's not right, and I'm not right, or he's not wrong, and I'm not wrong. It's just knowing who you are, man. Just like Gabe's tattoo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's true, too. It's like you also have a high cash flow generating machine on the side that allows you to place like our friend Shane, he's a GoBro down in Sacramento. He's going to do like, I probably shouldn't say, he's going to do several $1 million, in revenue, but he puts that into, he either invests with like good operators like us, because we have a small group of investors, or he'll invest in his own, Class B multifamily in Memphis or whatever. But it's like, yeah. So some people like, well, that's great, Kevin. I would love to, but I don't have this multi-million-dollar cash flow stream on the side. So, but again, it goes back to getting savage and scrappy. Like, how can I do it? And what's in your head? How can I create value? How can I create cash flow?
I could think of like 10 ways to find that person. Like, go down to your bank and speak to a lender or a banker down there and say, who do you know who has a lot of capital and cash right now they want to invest into deals? And if I give you my information, would you connect them to me? Like, go to a RIA meetup and see who you can find there. Look up your county tax records of who owns the biggest properties in town. Reverse look up their information and call them and see if they'd be willing to partner if you did all the work and they just invested capital and it'd be on their terms. Like, stop making fucking excuses, man. Like, and that's everybody in my life who says that shit. It's like, dude, there's a million different ways. But Brandon Turner, who I haven't spoken with in a little while, but he's in good ones as well. But Brandon would say, like, it's a triangle and you only need two sides. So if you have money and knowledge, you need to find the guy with hustle. If you have knowledge and hustle, then you need the guy who has money. So if you don't have the money, you better have the knowledge and the hustle, and the money guy will be very easy. So whatever your excuse is, man, I think that there's a way around it, but I try not to focus. The one thing I hate is problems, man. And it's probably the biggest fight me and my wife gets in, period, is like when she brings me a problem. It's like, I love solutions. Like, if you want to tell me something that's going wrong, tell me two possible solutions to it. I'm all on board. But if you just bring me a problem, I don't need any more fucking problems in my life. And so it's the same thing with like even the real estate agents that we have or the insurance agents, like, well, like it's this or it's that. And we can always find an excuse, man. We can always find an excuse.
Dude, do not let Kevin down. Get up, get your ass to work, make those contacts. I like it. Raising capital. Yeah. Because we talk about being thought leaders, which, but it's also like, I love the fact that you say, go find people that have idle cash that want to deploy it. If you got the hustle and the knowledge and some notoriety and experience, you're providing that person a service, especially someone that's built their wealth and they're kind of wanting to, maybe sunset, but they're tired of putting it into maybe the stock market where they don't have control and they want the tax benefits of real estate, but they also want to yield. Like, when people flip the switch from I need capital, they're doing me a favor, to I'm doing you a favor. And yeah, I love that. I love that mentality. What's the end game for you, Kevin? I mean, your days are full. You love it. You're kicking ass. You're building businesses. You're building an empire. Like, what's the end game for you?
Yeah, I would say mine right now is I want to continue building the real estate team because I'm having fun doing that. There's a lot of changes in real estate that are coming down the pipeline, right? Who knows what's going to happen at the end of the day? I mean, I don't have too much speculation on it, but there's changes happening. So we'll see kind of what happens like that. I view my real estate business more like an ATM. So I love having the ATM, and I'm just kind of hitting it every now and again just to fund these other deals. But my game plan is once the real estate makes me around, I don't know, 1.5 million passive is like the game in my mind. Once that makes me 1.5 million, then I'll probably just get out of the day-to-day on the real estate team side. But I'm really motivated to continue leading the insurance company because I never got away from my core, man. My core is still selling real estate. Like, I still will sell 200 properties this year just because of what we've built and kind of what's still coming in the door, which is really nice. But being a leader in the insurance company and being able to grow on the property and casual side is super fun to me. Being able to expand and grow our mobile home park doors by where I'm looking roughly around 300 doors a year, 300 pads a year, which I'm super excited about. If we can build a couple properties, that's fun to me as well. So, man, I just keep playing the game. and I'm enjoying the game that we're playing. And there's definitely some days where I feel like I work too hard, and some weeks where I feel like it's all on fucking fire, and I just want to burn it all down and move to the Virgin Islands, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, I feel like I'm making progress, and I probably got to pay a little bit more dues, or I'm probably going to pay a little bit more dues than I probably have to, just because I want to make sure that I'm in a good position where I don't have to come back and pay dues at a later date. So for me, I'd rather put myself in such a sweet position that when I do step out of my core production, I don't have to come back to it. So I'm probably going to set myself up a little bit safer, but I love to get my assets values up to, I don't know, $75, $80 million. And I'd love to be in good equity positions there. My life insurance account's almost fully funded, which is pretty funny that I did that, but I love that. Like over a 7-year period, I've invested about $1 million on it. That's going to pay me an extra 50 something thousand a year and continue compounding. My investments in the stock market's going well with the guys that we have in that end. So I'm just building all these different pillars, and real estate is definitely my main pillar, but I'm continuing to grow all these other kind of things on the side, keeping my core, just to make sure that I'm leveraging things the way that they should be leveraged. So that's where I'm kind of going right now.
That's awesome, man. Unbelievable. I feel like we're top of the hour. And I want to be respectful of your time, but like, this is so inspiring to talk with you. And like, I feel personally a new motivation just talking with you, because I can honestly say, like, I think you've got a really rare grit, but then look what you've built because of it. Like, so anyway, I'm super impressed. Travis, do we have any other questions? I've got the last. I'll take the last question if that's all right.
No. I guess just the last notice is for the listeners. Notice that Kevin says the word game and fun a lot. Like, this is a game. It's fun. Make it fun. Gamify it. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, take us out of here, Mitch.
Let me say one thing, Mitch, before you started, maybe, is that like one thing that Travis said a couple of times too is just like, yeah, don't let Kevin down. And I tell you, like, one huge enhancement in my life is when my mentor told me, he was like, hey man, you have to learn to live without any kind of expectations of anybody, because that's the only way that you can really be free. Because if you have expectations of anybody can control your day and control your time. So when you said that, it just brings back to my mind all the time of like, I try to enforce on my team and my family of like, I have zero expectations of whether you take this and do anything with it or not. I have zero expectations of whether this is a good use of my time or a bad use of my time. It just is my time. And I have zero expectations on whether somebody shows up and does a deal or whether a seller walks away at the absolute last moment. All I have are the obligations and the commitment that I've made to myself, and I'm going to keep on rolling those. But I've really worked really hard on myself by dropping expectations. And when I've done that, when shit hits the wall or shit hits the fan, I can really smile about it, right? So I didn't expect it to go any other way. I didn't expect it to happen and it'd be perfect. And I didn't expect for shit to go sideways, or I didn't expect the new hire to be a bomb and just leave after 30 days. Like, I have no expectations. I'm just going to let kind of life play out. And I think that that's one of the best lessons he ever taught me, is to live life with zero expectations. I don't expect my kids to graduate with all A's. I don't expect my daughter to win a surf competition. I don't expect my wife to be all happy when I get home tonight. I'm just kind of taking life as it comes and going through the process. And I think if I can do it without expectations, other people can't let me down. And if other people can't let me down, then I can live life on my own terms.
Man, I could take that with my business partnership with Mitch. Like, I have no expectations for him, and you know, he shows up and bombs every day.
I appreciate that. That otherwise we would break up real quick. No, I'm trying to teach my kids this, because my 10-year-old, she's like, at the end of the day, she's like, well, I thought this and this and this was going to happen. It was going to happen this way. She's super frustrated. I'm like, whoa, you're putting all this shit on your day, and then it doesn't match up with what you built in your mind. And now there's this gap versus like just enjoying it as it unfolds. Anyway, I think we can all learn from that.
Yeah, I tend to over-exaggerate. I don't know if I'm doing it right. I think I'm really fucking up my kids. I don't know. We'll see. In 10 years, like, my kids are either going to be in jail or man,
or just on top of the world.
Yeah. I always go the opposite directions when they have those huge expectations. They're like, oh my God, you're right. How could you do it? We should never talk to her. You know what we should do? We should go over to her house, ring her doorbell, and just punch her right in the face right now. I'm going to take you over to her house right now. Like, oh, my teacher was this. No way. I'm going to go to school tomorrow morning and I'm going to ram her car. And we're going to tell the principal, you are never going to that class again. And she's like, what? No. I'm like, okay, did I overreact? Yeah, you overreacted.
No.
You didn't. Maybe you overreacted.
I'm going to put a tickler in I'm going to put a note in my calendar to follow up with your kids in 10 years. See how this worked out.
Yeah, they're going to go one way or the other, man. I'm not sure what's going to be right.
We'll be working for them, so they'll be
right. Yeah,
all right, man. I got the last question for you. So this is a hypothetical. You've lost everything. There's no money in the bank account, no business, no context, no network. You're on a buddy's couch.
But you have your knowledge.
You got your knowledge. You got that, right? So, but you want to build a real estate empire. You want to build what you've built. You want to go, get free again or build big business again. What is the first step? Like, what does the first month look like? The first week look like?
I would say if I'm doing it on the investing side, the first thing I'm going to do, only because it's fresh on my mind now, but I think it's a good answer, is that I would go to the different local banks and see who their largest real estate investors are. I'm going to give them all my information and plead with them to have them call me because I know they're not going to give out my information. If I can get their names, I'll be great, but chances are they won't be great. And then I'm probably going to the public county library and I'm looking up land records because I don't have a computer or phone, I guess. And I'm trying to Google and see who owns the biggest parcels in town and seeing if I can reverse look up their mailing address. And I'm probably walking to their mailing address. And then I'm probably asking them, hey, give me the name and number of somebody that you've been unable to close in the real estate transaction and let me call them and let me show you what I can do. Let me put my grit to the test and show you what I can do to really build this up for you. And then I'm probably going to continue cycling through all the people that they weren't able to close to see if I was able to land one of those deals. And then try to pitch myself as somebody that'll do all the hunting for this guy and bring him genuine opportunities. He doesn't only owe me a dime unless we're able to close something. And if we close something, maybe I get a percentage of the ownership, or maybe he just gives me a spiff for bringing him deals. And after a while, I have enough spiff or enough ownership to do it by myself. But I'm probably going around and finding a few of those guys just a resourceful way and just being the hustle behind them for a little bit. And I'm one of those that like, I feel like real recognizes real. I say that a lot. So I feel like if I was to show up to a couple of these guys and like I was able to get in front of them and have a conversation and speak intelligently to them, they'll be like, all right, this guy might be one of us. So as long as I prove myself to them, I think they'll welcome me into the fold.
We ask this question a lot and sometimes you're like, yeah, probably not. With you, I'm like, hell yeah, this guy, I have no doubt.
He'll do it.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah. I'm going to get off this podcast and go make a bunch of cold calls or yell at my kids. I got to do something, man. I got to yell at my kids. I got to be more like, I'm joking. I got to be more like Kevin, man. I got to make gritty kids. I got to get after it. I got to time block. I got to generate. I got to produce. So I'm not tolerating. Yeah, I love it. Well, man, thanks again for your time. I know we went a little long. This was fantastic. This is one for the records for sure. I know you don't do a lot of these podcasts. You're not on stage a lot. I know Gabe talked you into coming and then didn't come. What a jerk. So, but
typical day. Vegans. Yeah. That's what you get when you do
vegans. That's right. You can't do business with vegans.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you, Kevin. Look forward to meeting you in person and go Abundance. Sure. And yeah, just keep in touch, man. I'd love to follow up with.
For sure, dude. Yeah, always feel free to reach out. You guys got my info.
Yeah, and we're mobile home park investors. So if you ever let's geek out on that stuff.
Yeah, we'd love to talk. Absolutely.